Berserk of Gluttony, Episode 3, Roxy is going into town on a secret inspection. Fate sees her and sees how she is dressed in not her normal clothes. Since Fate saw Roxy, he will be joining her on the secret inspection mission. Walking around, Fate calls Roxy, Roxy out loud. Greed tells Fate not to do that, or she will be found out. Roxy says the same thing. As they talk, Greed talks to Fate. Roxy thinks he is talking to her. Roxy then sees Fate misuse his sword. Roxy tells Fate he needs to treat better care of his sword and looks at Greed. Only Fate can hear Greed talk. No one else can hear him talk, which is why we get this little funny scene of Roxy talking to Fate, but Fate is talking to Greed, and Roxy thinks Fate is talking to her when he's not. It's just this whole entire miscommunication funny scene. They go walking around a market and try grapes. Roxy says, of course the grapes taste good because they were grown at her home. Greed tells Fate to say Roxy has a relative who works at this vineyard to save the day. I really am enjoying how Greed is talking to Fate, and everyone around Fate is wondering what he is saying to them because they think he is talking to them. And they don't think he's talking to himself. No one sees Fate talk and is like, oh, he's weird for talking to himself. None of them have that opinion of Fate, which is really cool. They just think he's talking to them. In the market, a holy knight walks by. No one talks. They are all afraid. Greed talks to Fate, and Fate responds and gets in trouble for talking. If I was Fate, I would be so mad at Greed right now. The Holy Knight walks over and Fate apologizes right away for talking. The Holy Knight is not happy about this. The Holy Knight goes to step on Fate when Roxy steps in. She tells the Holy Knight to stop. Now all attention is on her and everyone can see this woman is in fact Roxy. Greed tells Fate to act like her boyfriend to throw people off. Roxy is not in a romantic relationship. This woman can be in a romantic relationship and they can brush it off as she just looks like Lady Roxy. Roxy ends the conversation and walks away from the Holy Knight by pretending to be Fate's girlfriend. And no one stops them as they leave the area. Roxy and Fate are safely away, and Roxy sees jewels she is interested in. She does not buy any of them though. They walk around again and hear two men talk about how mysterious killings are all from goblins. They talk about how goblins are outside the area they live in and are being killed, and the proof is an orphanage had goblin ears donated to them. I truthfully have no idea what they are talking about. The only thing I know is that the last part of there being goblin ears at an orphanage. That was Fate because he saved an orphan from here, and last episode he killed a lot of goblins to then give to the orphanage so they could sell, and the kids, including the young girl he saved, will have money for food for a short time period. Does anyone want to comment below on what exactly these two men were talking about? Roxy asks the men about this. What are they talking about? They tell her to ask a warrior, and they don't want to be bothered. This is the reason Roxy is walking around, to find this mysterious monster, which this is why I was so confused. They think a monster is killing other monsters. It is just Fate. Fate's the one doing it, so I don't need an explanation anymore, but if you didn't get to the part of this video and you did make a comment, thank you so much. Roxy wants to learn more about this. Fate takes her to a tavern that he goes to and went to before he lived with Roxy. They then are told it is one warrior who found a bunch of goblins and killed them. They question though why a warrior would kill a monster and not cash in the monster parts for money for themselves. A man comes to the tavern and says another theory is the monster is a leech, and this would be difficult for the Holy Knights to defeat. After this, three men come to the tavern. One of the men hit on Roxy, and Roxy pushes him across the room. Now everyone knows she is a Holy Knight, Lady Roxy. Only a Holy Knight can do that move. The man apologizes for his actions, and Roxy says it is okay, and she truly means it is okay, because they should not fear Holy Knights like they currently do, and Roxy is going to change that. After eating and talking, Roxy and Fate go to a blacksmith to give Greed maintenance. Next, they go walk around the capital again. They see three Holy Knights bullying a child. Fate and Roxy take the child and will be in charge of him now. Roxy asks why she was not properly informed about the rumored wandering monster. Why was she not invited to hunt it down? The Holy Knights brush her off on, oh, I thought you already knew. My bad. And then they leave. Fate does not want Roxy to join the hunt. If she joined, he has a higher chance of being found out. The little boy tells Roxy and Fate that he hates holy knights. Roxy is about to tell him who she is when Fate interrupts and asks if he is lost. Roxy and Fate are going to help this boy find his mom. As they look around and take a break, Fate remembers being all alone also, and a nice holy knight giving him food. I do not know who this holy knight is. If they looked younger, I would say it's Roxy, but we don't know anything else besides this little flashback of Fate one nighttime 5 years ago is eating sandwiches with a holy knight, and that's it. In the present time, evening comes and they are able to find his mom. When Roxy and Fate return home, they get in trouble for being out. Fate then, the next day, goes back to the market and buys items for himself. One of them is a mask that will hide his identity. He buys a crystal for Roxy as a thank you for the other day. Episode 3 is over with a sinister ending of the Holy Knights talking about Gallia. This anime has a lot going on right now, and I feel like we just learned so much in this episode. I know Lady Roxy currently is not on the hunt to find this mysterious monster who is Fate, but probably next episode 4, she's probably going to try to join, and Fate is getting a wardrobe change, which that wardrobe change is also the poster of this anime. Fate is already dressed up in his outfit, and we finally get to see that in action. I do like this anime, and I like how it's almost now become like we need to find the killer, but the killer is among us, but we don't know it. I am enjoying this anime. I do like how there is action in it with the fighting scenes, as well as there are just normal talking scenes. And then there's also scenes where there's talking to help the plot move along as well. I feel like this anime so far, with the 3 episodes it has not dragged on. I felt very engaged all 3 episodes. You listening to my video, you can give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment below if you think the pacing of this anime is really good and it's keeping you entertained, or if you're not liking it anymore. Thank you!